Every ounce of muscle you gain should be making you stronger. I'm Kaizzad Capadia, and this is the Neulife Masterclass of Muscle. Raj, one thing that I forgot to mention was the grip. Okay, I mean, our episodes are always extempore. We don't have a script, so sometimes certain things which are important get left behind, and then I don't leave them. We'll definitely come to it. I should have spoken about the grip earlier during the setup itself. So since we've skipped that, I'm going to bring up the grip again. Manoj, lie down. Okay, now there are two kinds of grips that you can have. One is the regular grip with the thumb around the bar.
Crushing the bar.
Right? You use the opposing thumb, correct? We can hold things because we've got a thumb. Unlike animals, we have a thumb which can go opposed to the fingers, which is why we can hold objects much better than animals, right? But think of a push-up. A bench press is nothing else but an inverted push-up, okay? If I'm going to lift my body weight using the same set of muscles that I use in my bench press, using the same joint actions, then I'll have to be prone. Right now I'm supine. Supine means tummy up.
Tummy up.
Prone means on my tummy, curl back up, right? Yeah. So if I'm prone and I do a push-up using the body weight, how do I do a push-up? Can I do it this way? Do I do it on my fist or do I do it on my palm? On my palm, correct? Most objects that we push, an anterior push also, is from the palm. But not from the palm, but from the heel of the palm.
Heel of the palm.
Okay? The load is actually on the shaft of the bone. Every bone that we have, every long bone that we have, the humerus, your radius and ulna, all these are long bones. And the long bones have got heads or condyles at each ends, and there's a shaft. When the load is on the shaft, that's when you are in your strongest position as far as your skeletal system is concerned. Okay, there is no tension on the tendons and ligaments of your wrist. The whole load is on the shaft of the bone. I like using the false grip. That's called as a false grip, by the way. When you don't use your opposing thumb and the thumb is on the side of the fingers, it's a false grip.
So you're not gripping it, you're just shelving it.
Shelving it. But then the other fingers are going to be really tight against the bar. Keeping in mind everything that I've told you. No matter what, whether the bar is on my shoulder for the squat, no matter where the bar is, shrugs or whatever, I will hold it and I will crush the bar with as much power as I've got. Literally weld my hands to the bar. Okay, so that stays. Many people consider this grip to be dangerous, and yes, accidents have happened in competitive powerlifting as well, where a person has actually lifted the bar off and the bar has sort of slipped off from here. Now that's bound to happen if the weight is not properly on the shaft of the bone, okay? If the person places it here and then does not extend the wrist but keeps the wrist straight, obviously it's going to fall. Now extending the wrist is something that people are very worried about. If you hold the bar like this with the opposing thumb and then you allow the wrist to extend, that's what's going to create a lot of bloody force on my joint. Adverse force on my joint. Okay? If the weight is here, no problems at all. Okay? It's like this. This is not a problem. This is how I would support my body weight. This is definitely a problem. See where the weight is.
It comes here, pushing the wrist behind.
Exactly.
Here,
so if you were to use a regular grip, which some people are completely uncomfortable with the false grip, I would not really force them to use the false grip. But if you use a regular grip, see to it that your fist is pointed towards the ceiling. Okay, and it doesn't fall back. And especially for a person who can't keep the wrist straight and keeps falling back, the false grip is any day better. Okay, we're going to be using the false grip here. The bar is going to be on the heel of your palm, right over the shaft of the bone, and I'm going to have this and the grip, the distance between the grips, between your hands, the grip. It has to be again slightly wider than shoulder width. Now slightly wider than shoulder width is a pretty vague term, correct? How do you know that the grip is proper? At the point where the bar connects with the torso, at that point I want to see the forearms perpendicular to the floor on both sides. If at the point where the bar is connecting to the chest, I see the forearms like this, the grip is too wide. Many people talk about various kinds of bench presses, the bodybuilding bench press and the powerlifting bench press and so on and so forth. A bench press is a bench press, simple. Okay, and whether you're a bodybuilder or a powerlifter, you should be using correct biomechanics to make that lift as easy as possible. And as I said, level of difficulty or load on the muscle should come by increasing poundage, not by making a movement difficult. And sometimes powerlifters, they decide to decrease range of motion because they feel that's an advantageous thing to do. So they hold an excessively wide grip. And the wider you go, the shorter the range of motion. But they don't realize these people who use excessively wide grips, and there are people who've actually had world records with excessively wide grips. Doesn't mean that I will agree to them, doesn't matter if they've got world records, they will be capable of a lot more if they adjusted the grip to the right biomechanically correct grip width. So when they're excessively wide, yes, the range of motion does reduce, but along with the range of motion, there's a lot of power dissipation that occurs. A lot of loss of power generation that occurs.
Pushing at an angle.
You're pushing at an angle, you're not pushing it away from the body. Think about pushing an object. You want to push an object like this, think about the power you can generate. Think about the power you can generate from here. So it needs to be a wide grip. A wide grip is defined as a grip that is wider than shoulder width. Narrow grip, many people consider to be narrower than shoulder width. No, the narrow grip is the shoulder width grip. And it is called as the narrow grip because it is narrower than the wide grip, which is wider than shoulder width. So about one palm outside your shoulders is the grip for most people. And as I said, once the bar connects with the torso, you will know it's the right grip if the forearms are perpendicular to the floor. I would like you all to notice that when I give him the grip and when Manoj takes the bar down to the chest, you will find the forearms perpendicular to the floor. Perfectly like two pillars right behind, like two pistons that can push the weight up. You will see the power, you will actually feel the power in this particular grip. He's used the false grip. He's activated his kinetic chain, the hip is up, chin is on chest. Okay, breathe. Up. See the forearms perpendicular to the floor. Up. Right beneath the bar. Up. And push. Okay. Now, when a muscle lengthens, it is called as the eccentric contraction under tension. So the bar is coming down, the muscle is lengthening. Full range of motion is said to be achieved when the bar connects with the chest. But at no point in time is the bar actually resting on your rib cage.
Touch and
the bar touches your chest but doesn't even depress your muscle. Okay? So the brakes have been put by the muscles. Eccentric control is all about when the bar is going in the direction of gravity, when the weight is traveling in the direction of gravity, the weight has to stop because of muscular force.
Muscular control.
Okay, so that's eccentric contraction for you. So the muscle lengthens and puts the brakes on the moment the bar is at your chest. But the bar has to make positive contact with the chest. Many people skim the chest and they go up. Just before they're going to make contact, they start reversing into concentric, fearing that if they go any lower, they won't be able to push. The muscle is at its most powerful when the bar is in contact with the chest. Always make positive contact. Train your CNS to fire into the concentric only after the body feels the bar connect with the chest. You do it from the very beginning, that's exactly how it will happen. And once the CNS is trained that way, if I tell you to reverse halfway, you will find that more difficult. The body won't fire into concentric. Okay, so always make a positive contact with your chest. Breathe in, expand the rib cage, keep the rib cage filled with air, bring the bar down, let the bar connect with the chest, and the moment the bar connects with the chest, reverse gears and push. This happens to be known as a pectoral exercise. How much do you bench press? How many inches is your chest? How many inches are your pectorals? Okay, even for development, which I said, bound to happen. If you lead a bodybuilding lifestyle, which includes a bodybuilding diet, it's bound to happen. Too much is made out of this stupid mind-muscle link or the mind-muscle connection. And I want to bring this up right now when we talk about the bench press, because there are many trainers again, whatever you call them, experts or whatever you call them, who love to, come here Manoj, let me show you. This is what they do and it's very irritating. Extreme, feel it here, feel it here, feel it here. This is what they keep on doing. You have the person literally trying to contract his chest and feel it here.
Feel the muscle.
That is extremely the wrong thing to do. Focus on the task at hand. The task at hand is the bar is on my chest. I need to throw it up.
Push. Yeah.
I need to get it off my chest at full extension. Your entire mind has to link with the task, not with the muscles at work. If your biomechanics are correct and your joint actions are correct, See, joint actions are completely related to muscles. What are we doing out here? This joint action is called as horizontal adduction. And horizontal adduction is basically in the horizontal plane, the arms are coming closer to each other, right? So that's horizontal adduction. This is done by the pectoral muscle. Now the pectoral muscle basically originates from the sternum, originates from the clavicle, and also some fibers originate from the external oblique.
Leading to the...
Okay, and they all converge into what we call as the bicipital groove, a particular point here on the humerus. So they're all like this. And their function is to pull the humerus up.
upward.
Up, that's the function. Once this joint action is achieved, what is it going to be? If you don't have the mind muscle link, you think your quads are going to do this? Your glutes are going to do this? It has to be the pectoral. So once you're crystal clear about joint actions, about anatomy, about origins and insertions, that's when you start moving away from these pseudo principles of mind muscle link and all that. Link the mind to the task at hand.
Train the function of the muscle.
You are training the function of the muscle. I wouldn't even say train. I don't even want you to think about adduction. I just want you to think about the task. Push the bar away. And to push the bar away, the joint action has to be horizontal adduction. And there the chest has to come into play. I'll give you an example. Like for instance, a similar movement as a bench press. Come here. A similar movement as a bench press is a punch. So I'm going to punch him. Okay? These kind of weird notions about connecting with the muscle and all always happen in a gym. Misunderstandings happen in a gym. When I'm punching him, I'm thinking about impact. I want to punch with force. I'm not thinking about feeling my pectoral while I'm punching. Correct or no?
That happens when you tell people to kick. Like, extend your knee, extend your leg.
Unfortunately, what happens is, here you're supposed, the end is lifting a weight. The byproduct is because of the labor of lifting weights, progressively heavier weights. The body is built if given the right raw materials. The end product is not tension on my muscles. That is not the end product. The end product is the task. The tension on the muscle is a byproduct of that. And the more and more load you put on the body will try and adapt to that load by becoming stronger. Cardiovascular exercise. Why do you think I've taken upon myself to keep talking about weight training and resistance training? So much of misunderstanding. Does anybody run on the road thinking I've got to activate my calves and my hamstrings and my quads, and if I run this way, my glutes are going to look that way? No, they just run. So these bloody idiotic things don't come up in cardiovascular exercise. But in my domain, there are hajar things that come up about connecting with the chest, about connecting with this and connecting with that. So just like running is a task, similarly here the task is
lift,
an anterior push. And that's what you focus on. And don't worry, the pectorals will develop beautifully if given the right nutrition. So that's the bench press for you. Any questions that you could think of that I may have left off?
Yeah, we'll come back to some of the questions that our audiences have asked. Thank you, Manoj, for helping us with the demo, and we wish him best of luck for the competition that he's coming up for in 2014, and I'm pretty sure that he will make it. Thanks a lot, Manoj.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you.
So, we'll come back to some of the questions that our audiences had asked on Facebook. Kaizzad, obviously, now that you have explained it, it's quite redundant, but does keeping your grip wider give you a wider chest?
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
again, wider this, longer that, longer biceps, wider pectorals. Please understand your origins and insertions have already been set.
You cannot change them.
You cannot change them. For instance, some people say that your biceps are not all the way down to your elbows. Like, can you see these two biceps here? Do you see asymmetry? Do you see this shorter, much shorter than this one?
Yeah.
Is it evident?
Yeah.
That's because my long end of the biceps has rushed out and only the fascia is connecting. So there's a toned biceps head. You understand? Now the point is there are many people with biceps this short. Tendon is longer and the muscle belly is shorter. This is genetics. It's like having curly hair and straight hair. Yeah. Having a long nose and a short nose. Okay? I keep telling people physiologically, anatomically, we are all the same. But these are variations that are there. Like for instance, your nose and my nose, location, components, function, everything is the same. The spare parts are all the same. Every single spare part of my nose is there in your nose. But your nose is differently shaped. Similarly, muscles are also differently shaped. Some people have this wide rift between the pectorals, between the two pectorals. You can't fill that up. There is no muscle there. It's originating at a slightly wider distance. It's again like having a broader bridge of nose, a smaller bridge of nose, bigger ears, smaller ears. Those things you cannot change.
An exercise can't change the shape of your muscle. That's why just hypertrophy.
That's another reason why I don't like bodybuilding being called an art. And there are many people who keep talking about it's not just a science but also an art, and I'm a sculptor and I'm this and I've sculpted my physique. You overload the body and you make the muscle hypertrophy. Shape, the sculptor actually is gone. He's already done his job. You magnify what he's done through hypertrophy.
Another thing that somebody had asked is it safe to use powder while you're using a bench press? It might go in your eye or disturb you.
Powder has got tremendous amount of benefits to provide. The more friction, the more grip, the stickier the grip, the better for you. The more force generation you can make. Even a slight bit of moisture, even a slight shift of the hand is more than enough to screw up a lift. So if you have chalk and your gym allows it, my gyms allow chalk, but there are very few gyms in the world that allow chalk. Gyms that actually understand the effort that it requires to really strength train and who appreciate hard work in the gym will always have chalk. But if your gym allows chalk, use it. And as far as it falling into your eyes and all, you just be careful, that's all. See to it that you apply the chalk and then you rub off all excess chalk before you lie down so that you don't put your hands up and then have the bloody powder fall into your eyes. That's your carelessness. Just be more careful, that's all.
One more question. If you're not training for powerlifting or all the typical presses, would you always still do a bench press or would you vary between a bench press and a dumbbell press? And how often?
Okay. Finally, yeah, you're right about that. Basically, to train the pectorals or to be good at anterior pushing, you don't really require a barbell and you don't require the barbell bench press. Dumbbells are the ultimate free weight. The barbell is basically the left and right are connected to each other. It's called as a bilateral movement. Now, if I use two dumbbells instead of a barbell, it's called as an isolateral movement. They are independent action on the left and the right. In a bench press and a barbell bench press, what happens is that the stronger side can cover for the weaker side. Now, what is the stronger side or weaker side? It's not the quantum of muscle so much as central nervous system efficiency towards one side as opposed to the other. We all have a dominant side.
Yeah.
So right-handers basically, yeah. So if you're a righty and somebody asks you to punch a bag, you will use your right hand to punch. But if somebody says, now punch with your left,
you're not that
strong. You're not that strong. The reason being that the central nervous system is not really so well efficient at recruiting motor units in the left as it is with the right, because you've always been doing things with the right. Like for instance in boxing, southpaws.
Southpaw and orthodox.
Right, so southpaw. So supposing the southpaw wants to play orthodox to surprise his opponent. We've seen that in Rocky movies, that he'll tie up his left hand and force him to punch only. Keep on punching with the other side will get more efficient. Now what happens with the bilateral movement is that the dominant side covers a little bit for the weaker side. How does that happen? Can you put this down here?
Down?
Yeah, take it down. I'll show you, I'll demonstrate something to you. Now, let's assume that you don't have the strength to put this from the center onto the top rack. One way of doing is walking the weight up. Okay? I'm going to do it first, then you do it and experience what I'm telling you. I first put this up here. Then I go that side. And I put this up here. What I will experience is that when the bar was parallel to the floor, and the first time that I lifted it from here to here, I experienced a particular load. I should be experiencing the same load when I pick up this bar. Now the bar is slanted this way. I should be experiencing the same load when I pick up the bar onto this peg. But what I experience is that the weight is lighter. When the bar is like this and I pick it up, it's lighter.
Half the bar is already there.
Because half the bar is already there. Okay? I want you to experience that.
There you go.
So you've experienced a particular load. Now you come this side, watch the bars.
Yeah.
Does it seem lighter there?
Yeah, because half the bar is already there.
So doesn't, yeah. So now,
just picking it up and
now what happens with the dominant side, I'll tell you. Now I lie down, I use a barbell, okay? And I start pressing. The movement is always initiated a bit from the dominant side. This is what moves first. Now, the barbell doesn't seem askew despite the fact that it's Probably in beginners. who
Some
don't
people
really
you see
know how
them
to-
go cross.
Yeah, but you will not see that in beginners also. The bar comes up fairly straight. They normally do 60-40. That is, they push 60% from the dominant side and 40% from the non-dominant side. Yet the bar seems to be coming up straight, because what happens is, as the 60% initiates the movement, this keeps on filling in. As this leads, it becomes easier for the non-dominant side to lift. The same person uses dumbbells, and what happens is, on the 5th rep, this goes and this sticks.
It doesn't have an option but to push this through.
Right? Now, when this happens with beginners, they feel that the barbell is better. In the barbell, I can push evenly. With dumbbells, I don't push evenly. You're not pushing evenly with the barbell. In fact, you're pushing unevenly with the barbell, but the barbell is hiding the fact that you're pushing unevenly, whereas the dumbbell is exposing the fact of how much more stronger the dominant side is. Dominant side can't cover for the weaker side, and hence the weaker side has to work on its own. And the symmetry between both sides, as far as efficiency of motor unit recruitment is concerned, has a chance of improving if you use
Dumbbell.
isolateral movements, dumbbell movements, or independent action movements.
So dumbbell ensures that you use equal effort on both sides.
Correct. Right? Whereas the barbell can sometimes hide that.
Cheat.
At the advanced levels, once a person has formed a base with isolateral dumbbell movements, the person will fire very well with the barbell as well. We teach at K11, we teach the barbell, because barbell bench press finally is a lift and the skill has to be learned. I can tell you one thing, as far as motor unit recruitment and muscle fiber recruitment and workload is concerned, when I say workload, I have 4 factors of workloads to be considered. There is poundage, there is repetitions, there is range of motion, and there is speed. Okay? Now, if I use, say, 200 pounds on the bench press, and instead of that I use 200-pound dumbbells, okay? If my poundage is the same, 200 pounds on the bench press, 100 pounds, 100-pound pair, so that's 200 pounds, so poundage is the same. I do 6 repetitions on both, so repetitions are the same. The time that I take to finish 6 repetitions is also the same on the barbell and the bench press, so the speed is the same, okay? I still will have done a greater workload with dumbbells than with barbells. Now, why is that? The pectoral basically does what? Horizontal adduction, you saw that. Okay, now at the bottom of the movement of a dumbbell and a barbell, the abduction moving away from the midline of the body is the same. Barbell, the humerus comes and ends here. Dumbbell, the humerus comes and ends here. You see, the degree of rotation is much more. So the adduction, which is the function of the pectoral itself, is a lot more with dumbbells than with barbells.
Barbell is locked here.
Correct. So the barbell ends here, the dumbbell ends here. A lot more adduction, so more range of motion. So if poundage is constant, repetitions are constant, and speed is constant, with all these at constant, dumbbells will be superior to barbells because the range of motion is more.
So despite the barbell bench press being a superior movement per se,
Barbell bench is superior movement. Barbell bench is a lift.
it's a lift.
Forget about it being superior or inferior.
So even for a barbell bench press, you would have to train with a dumbbell.
So let's assume that
basic.
from this point, this aspect or this point of view, the dumbbell bench press is superior to the barbell bench press. If supposing you were to enter a competition for a barbell bench press,
Where you have to lift.
specific adaptations. Despite the fact that the workload is better in a dumbbell, don't expect yourself to keep on doing dumbbell bench presses and then be as good at barbell bench pressing. You will have to get used to
The different training
the
for
bar
CNS.
mechanics. The moment you change the tool, you have to get used to the tool. You can't just say that I've been doing a superior movement called as a dumbbell bench press, and hence tomorrow I enter the competition, I'll be better off than the people who've been practicing the barbell bench
Barbell
press.
bench press.
Though I can tell you one thing, the people who have been always doing barbell bench pressing, for them to actually move on to dumbbells is extremely difficult. But the people who've been doing dumbbell bench presses, okay, for them to move on to the barbell, the switch is fairly
Start with
fast.
dumbbell, progress to
Barbell is fairly fast. And now what we do at K11 is we teach both. We teach the barbell and the dumbbell. What we normally do, and we found it better at teaching, is that the entire setup, kinetic chain and everything we teach on the barbell. So we teach the barbell bench press first. Once the person gets used to all these things, the setup is perfect. He uses the same setup onto a dumbbell. We will be having an episode on dumbbell bench presses, and you'll see that yes, there are a lot more things to keep in mind. The pathway, it's a lot more dynamic. The barbell can basically either go here or there, whereas dumbbell can go in 4 directions. So there's a lot more control required. So I would rather that the person has learned the setup with a barbell, and then once that setup is something that is second nature, then I can start teaching the pathway of a dumbbell bench press. Teaching both at the same time, setup and the dumbbell pathway becomes a bit difficult. Not that it can't be done, but we find it easier that way. So let's not say that they are superior or inferior, but both have their places.
This is lift.
Yes. In fact, a lot of people, we have the K11 FB page. A lot of people will remember me being extremely adamant about the fact that always dumbbells better than barbells. And I have sort of changed my view on that completely. I still stick to the reasons why the dumbbell is superior to the barbell, why the dumbbell represents what we call as a free weight a lot more than the barbell, especially in upper body movements. Lower body movements, you've no choice.
You have no choice.
It is stupid to hold 2 dumbbells and do squats instead of a bar at the back of your
Which is joined into your body.
So that's what we're talking about. But in upper body, there is isolateral and bilateral. Bilateral is barbell movements and isolateral is dumbbell movements. And when we do the bento row, there I'll be quite adamant about the fact that dumbbells are better than barbells.
All right. So I hope that answered all our fans' questions. If you have any more questions, you can always write down right below the episode or write to us on our Facebook page. That is www.facebook.com/teamneulife. Thank you, Kaizzad, once again. And this was a brilliant show again. Thanks a lot.